So Josh Sundquist is one of my favorite YouTubers, and he's reading Harry Potter for the very first time. My friend Zach and I were talking about this, so I'm kind of piggybacking off of his video, but I'm going to tell you guys about the time that I read Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. I was in either 3rd or 4th grade. I don't really remember which grade exactly. I had to read Harry Potter because it was the required book for my grade level. I hadn't heard anything about the books. Apparently I was living under a rock. All I knew about Harry Potter was that it was really popular. And even as a kid, I kind of had that hipster complex of, oh, if it's really popular, it's probably really stupid and I don't want to read it. Within the first page, I was already into it. I had to know what was going on with the owls and shooting stars and cats reading maps. Everyone probably knew that it was about wizards and magic. I didn't know that. So I fell in love with this book and this series. I think because we all go through times in our lives when we feel like we don't fit in and we don't belong. And I definitely felt like that when I was a kid. All I wanted was for somebody to come and tell me that I really didn't belong here and that I was actually magical and I had to go away to this special school and go do awesome things. Harry Potter became just a big part of my life. I have so many memories of waiting for the books to come out, you know, going to the book release parties, going to the midnight showings for the movies, dressing up. When people ask me to describe myself, Hufflepuff is like one of the first labels that I throw out there. But a few years ago, I was watching one of the movies with my mom, and she looked over at me and said, you know, I almost didn't let you read the books. And that kind of like blew my mind. I had no idea that my mom was one of those parents that I make fun of that believed Harry Potter was evil. And so it all kind of goes back to my 3rd and 4th grade teacher for really pushing my mom and saying, please, you know, read this book with us. If after a few chapters you don't like it, you know, we'll find something else for Allison to read, but just give it a chance. I think you'll really like it. When she told me that, it really made me wonder what would have happened if she hadn't have let me read the books. It might sound a little silly, but I think stories influence us and they really impact us in certain ways. I really feel like I would have been somewhat of a different person if I hadn't have read Harry Potter. I mean, that was pretty much my first fandom before I even knew what fandoms were. That was like my first ships were like Harry and Hermione. It's really weird to think about, but obviously I'm really glad that my mom did let me read the book, and she ended up reading it too, just to make sure that it was, you know, a good book for me to read. And she ended up loving the book, and it ended up being like one of my first real bonding experiences with my mom. We had this thing to share together with the books and the movies and everything. I actually read the books out of order because I was kind of stupid and I didn't realize that it was all gonna be one continuous story. I read book 1, book 3, book 2, and then book 4, and I couldn't get through book 4 because it was so long. So I started over from the beginning, which ended up working out because I had all of my Harry Potter events out of order. So I'm a little jealous of Josh Sundquist because he gets to read them, you know, in the proper order, and he gets to remember reading them for the first time in better detail than I do. But at the same time, I'm really glad that I got to read them when I did get to read them. We were the Harry Potter generation. I got to experience waiting for the books to come out, like how was it going to end. I remember going to websites with theories of isn't really dead, and it seems like Josh is really enjoying the books, and I'm really glad. If you or anyone you know hasn't read the books, I strongly encourage you to read the books because they're amazing. It's definitely one of my favorite stories. It's just like my favorite book, and I don't understand why there are still people who don't want to read the books. So if you haven't read it, please read it. You won't regret it. It's just like, it'll be your favorite thing, I promise. Okay, I'll see you guys tomorrow.